Thank you for that. So this is our first class, and now we will run through land acknowledgement together. And so the practice of land acknowledgement is to offer a place of deep reflection as we engage in space, place, history, positionality, and centering nativeness in our work. And so we're going to begin by asking everybody to fill out or try to find where they are located, which native lands they are located on. And you can do that by filling out the guide that I will drop in the chat. And the reason we are doing this is because in a community where we're often taught not to think critically about our relationship with the land, we're reclaiming that power and reclaiming the need to understand colonialism and that it's an active process in the now. Also in the chat, I will drop a Shumi land tax guide for anybody who wants to look into it. Shumi land tax is an offering by Native people of the Ramaytush Ohlone and Tichenyu Ohlone lands, which is so-called San Francisco and Oakland, who are reclaiming their power to the land. And so if you want to support their efforts, you can also pay the Shumi land tax. And so each class will begin with a small land acknowledgement, and I will ask everybody to drop in the chat or say out loud the lands they are joining on. So today I am joining from Ramaytush Ohlone, so-called San Francisco. And I see Anna is joining us from Ohlone as well.
My name is Regina Lynn. I acknowledge that I am on stolen land of the Chochenyo and Ohlone people.
Thank you for that. And so I'm gonna offer that small space of reflection for everyone, and you can look at that native land document to tell you whose land you're on that I put in the chat. And Joy wrote, I identify as guest of Ohlone land, San Francisco.
And Anna also wrote that we are also in Mexico. Correct. Thank you.
And so if people want to keep the reflections to themselves, that's okay too. And we'll just proceed with community agreements now. And so these are agreements that Regina and I crafted when we were thinking about the energy we wanted to invite in the space. So I will read through them. And if there are any others that come up, please feel free to drop them in the chat or say them out loud after, and we can add them to our community. And so no bigotry, hate, or slander will be tolerated. Assume positive intent. All truth is truth. Take space, make space. The Vegas rule, which means what is said here stays here, but what is learned here leaves here. Each one, reach one, teach one. Ask permission to inquire after a personal share. Practice self and community care. One mic, one voice. Correct with care. Don't assume knowledge. If you are using academic jargon, please explain the terms. And I will pause to see if there are any others that folks want to share. And I see Maria in the chat wrote, we learned the other day that we cannot always assume positive intent because it negates accountability.
I also want to lift up in the chat that Maya Scott Chung has said that she is living on Confederated villages of Lisjan, Ohlone, Muwekma, Chochenyo, and San Leandro. And in response to Maria Torres, we learned the other day that we cannot always assume positive intent because it negates accountability. The way that I look at that is when something comes up, I am going to ask, I am going to do a restorative inquiry and ask them, what did you mean by this? Or I felt a certain way when you said this. Can you tell me more about this? Not that they completely, it's okay, you didn't mean it, but I'm going to ask for clarity so that there is a dialogue.
Thank you for uplifting that, Regina, and thank you for sharing your thoughts, Maria. I do agree that everything has a layer of nuance, in that positive intent doesn't mean that across the board we're assuming that people are always positive, but rather we're in our approach to one another. It is in care and compassion and a desire to learn from each other. And if that can't be met, then accountability is the direction that we're heading to. And Dichi, I see your hands up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand the Vegas rule.
Yeah, the Vegas rule is what says here stays here, and was learned here leaves here. So that means you won't say, oh, so-and-so said this in the class, and I think this, and this about that person. But you can ask to share the information that they have given you, and ask them if they can attribute your name, or if you should leave it out when you're sharing what you've learned from someone else.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's all about consent and making sure that we are bringing our full selves into the room and acknowledging our wholeness as a community and as people. And I like Rebecca has dropped into the chat, appreciate cultures through community. I think that's a good one to add. And we can add that to the slides, and I'll be sure to add it to our slide deck for the future class. So now we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty fun stuff for today. And so most of you should have received a notes packet in the mail. I know that some of you may not have received it yet. It might be in transit, but also you might have registered late. And so if you registered in the last 4 days, we did not send a notes packet out. However, if you would like a PowerPoint step-by-step guide on the material we are covering, feel free to just message me or Regina in the chat or email us, and we will make sure to mail one out this week to you. And so next, I'm going to run through the syllabus. So I'll give you a minute if you don't have your notes packet with you to go grab it, so that we have a chance to line up our visuals with the content we want to cover today. And so I'll click on the syllabus. Can everyone see this document that came up, or is it still on the slides? Can you see my screen on the syllabus?
Yes.
Thank you. So you should have received the printed version of this, but basically our course will take place from November 1st to December 8th, Mondays and Wednesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. on the Zoom link. So if you're here, you did it the first time. And so our goals as a collective is to increase community knowledge and engagement on social media platforms. We're going to do a deep dive into YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're gonna increase our comfort in navigating Zoom calls and setting up software so that we can become masters of our own with Zoom. We're gonna build a deeper understanding of community safety and preventing hacking attempts, which increase during the holiday season. And we are going to learn in community with others to increase our collective organizing potential. And as a final offering for the class, we are going to create 1 to 2 minute videos demonstrating what you have learned in concept and to practice the art of storytelling. And so in the syllabus, we have linked the community guidelines that we just ran through, and we'll make it a point to run through them to remind ourselves of the energy we're cultivating in the space together. We will also be holding office hours on 1 hour before class begins on Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. It'll be on the same Zoom line for initial course registration. I do ask that if you are planning on attending for office hours with group asks or individual asks, that you either email or call or text me 24 hours in advance to give me a heads up in case I also need to have an interpreter there or to prepare more materials. If that hour doesn't work before class, you can also either email me or Regina to schedule one-on-one appointments for additional guidance. And Regina just raised her hand in agreement. So all classes will have Spanish interpretation available. Shout out to Elena and Heidi, our Spanish interpretation team, who's been working on and off of the clock to make this happen. And I see Angel, your hand's up.
Yeah, I don't have the panel thing.
The what?
The panel, they didn't email us, they didn't send it to my house yet.
Oh yeah, we had talked earlier about the packet. I don't think if it doesn't get there by today or tomorrow, reach out to me and I'll make sure to send a second one.
Okay.
But everything you see on here will be in a notes packet, so it's just another place for that information to live.
Okay.
Great. And so due to a grant that Senior and Disability Action secured, we have the ability of granting up to 10 tech devices for SDA members who do not have access to one. So of the people in this course, I know 5 of you already have courses or have devices by SDA. And so for the purpose of our grant, it's really important that you attend this course and also submit that final video so that we can offer this class again. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your love and labor, for showing up and learning on the spot while learning how to use technology. And thank you for being part of our journey.
I also would like to add, if you are running into any type of problems in completing the video, please reach out to me or Bisma so that we can get you the assistance that you need. We're happy to help.
Thank you. And I will also say we have a day scheduled out in our class already where we'll just be recording videos together. So it's built in to succeed. We aren't going to leave anyone in the dust. We're going to make sure that everyone has the tools to succeed together. And so expectations for the class, in order to receive a certificate of completion for this course, you must either attend or watch recordings from the class and complete assignments for 8 sessions. In total, there are 12 sessions for this course. So 8 is majority of them. However, the more the merrier. And also, even though we offer class recordings as an option, I highly encourage all of you to come to the in-person synchronous sessions as much as possible, because learning happens best in communication and in community with others. And so, let's see, Flor has come in too. Ooh, yes, I can definitely enlarge. Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so now in the syllabus, it breaks down each day and the content that we are covering. So today is social media one-on-one plus digital security. And anytime we have resources, I will be sure to link it into the document here. So if you have, and I will just drop the link for the syllabus right now in the chat, both the English and the Spanish. And I encourage everybody to bookmark this so that you have this saved, because it will be a living, breathing, on live document through the course that will be updated with more resources as they come. So encourage everybody to take a second, save it however makes sense, but go back to this document for all the information on this course. So Wednesday, we'll continue our conversation of digital security and start to look at YouTube, which is where our course recordings will be. Next week, we'll do a deep dive into Facebook and hear from Anti-Police Terror Project on how they are using Facebook for their activism. After that, we will, the week after, on the third week, we'll do a deep dive into Twitter, hearing from the Coalition on Homelessness on what they do on their Twitter accounts. After, we will go into Instagram, then we'll discuss how to do public comment. We'll have Zoom one-on-one meetings, so talking about how to facilitate all the different controls in a meeting. And during December 6th, recording 1-minute personal journey videos for you to submit as your final project. So this is the time that we will have to, that 2-hour block will be when we're recording videos together. And lastly, we will have a graduation party with the silent disco and offering mutual aid to the Segoriate Land Trust. Location is also to be announced. We're still working out the details, but we will make sure it's COVID safe for all of us to join. And for the sake of inclusion, we're also going to try to find a place in Oakland to host our graduation. And so that's basically the run through of the syllabus. And so I will stop sharing my screen and see if anybody has questions. We covered quite a lot already.
Oh, what are you?
Bisma, hi, it's Joy again. Just to confirm that the page that you recommended that we save is identical to the paper version that I got in the mail, right?
Yes, it is identical. However, anytime I update that syllabus with a new link, you won't be able to see that in the paper. That's why I recommend bookmarking this too.
Okay, I'll have to ask you how I can do that later so
Yeah.
that we don't.
How can that be done? How do you bookmark it?
How do we bookmark? Okay, I'll share my screen to do a quick run through of how to bookmark something. So right now I am using Mozilla Firefox. So this is what the syllabus looks like. And basically, if you hover towards the top, this is called a search engine, where all of the docs.google.com with all of these jumbled up numbers and letters are. But to the right of it, there's a little star icon that appears. When you click on this, it says add bookmark. You can also alter the name of it. So you can write SDU Winter 2021 syllabus. You can even choose the location of where it goes. So if you click the bookmarks toolbar, that means it'll come as a small icon right on the top of your toolbar for your search engine. And then all you have to do is press save. So for me, because I already have like 14 plus bookmarks, it's gonna appear in these 2 caret keys that appears in the right. When I click on it, it'll show me the rest of my bookmarks, and there it is, the SDU winter syllabus. So anytime I click on that, it'll open right back up to the syllabus.
So where do we find this at? In
The-
our share? Where's it located?
The syllabus?
Yes, do we already have it?
So if you received a notes packet, you'll have the physical copy already.
Yes, I know.
And then I just sent it in the chat, and I'll be sure to send it again in the resources email for the class at the end of the week. And so you'll have it in multiple places in case you don't remember where to get it, but it's in the chat right now. So if you wanted to do that, you can do that right now.
Bisma, if you send us the email version, is that going to allow us to have access to your changes that you add to it? Oh, perfect. That's easier. Okay, for now.
Yes.
Thank you.
All the live documents will be sent in the email. So even if you missed it during this class, at the end of the week, I will send all the resources again.
Thank you.
So you saved the chat, is that the idea?
So it's in the chat right now in case you just wanted to do it alongside me. So all the links that are shared in the chat will also be sent in an email after class.
Okay.
Perfect. Are there any other questions?
I have one, but I don't think you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, well, I clicked on, I've lost the screen. I'm now just seeing the first page of the,
The syllabus.
yeah, I don't know how to get back.
Are you on your computer?
Yes,
So do you see the bottom docs panel where you have all these little icons? You'll have like a Mozilla one. You might have a Zoom one with a Z in a blue square.
I see.
If you
I don't
click on the blue
see
square, it will open the call back up.
Which do I click?
The blue square with the camera icon. It's like a white icon.
Yeah, I'm clicking it, but it doesn't happen.
It doesn't open it back up. You might have to minimize the screen you're on. So if you go to the top left of
Yeah.
your screen, there should be a dot that says minimize.
Uh, Show start page, doc home, show document outline.
Higher up, so not show document outline. It'll go all the way to the top past the search engine.
It says show start page.
Do you know where it says X? Like it has an X to close the document. Right next to it would be minimize.
In the top left corner.
Yes.
Ah. No, it's East Bay Social Media SDU syllabus.
How about try, you have like an X button, you just close.
Hello, soy Flor, pero yo estoy perdida de todo. Acabo de conectarme.
I'm Flor and I am lost from everything. I just got connected. It's
Hola,
Flor.
Flor. Can one of our interpreters give the interpretation section?
Ok, gracias.
I just posted on the chat because otherwise she cannot hear me, but I posted the instructions in Spanish on the chat.
Okay, thank you. And then, did you figure out how to open the Zoom call again? Dichi, can you hear me? Oh no, I think we lost her. Okay. We're just gonna keep going and hopefully Deepji joins us again. I think we might have lost her in the internet connection. All right.
Okay, can I ask a question now?
Mhm.
Okay, it says over here,
¿Qué cosa tenemos que encontrar?
What are we looking for? Flor, Heidi le está ayudando.
Sorry, Dorothy, for getting interrupted.
I'm sorry.
Let's first help Flor. So, hola, Flor.
Oh, todavía no están de español, pues termine con la de inglés primero, creo.
So,
Ah, ok. Ajá.
I think they're helping her.
Bueno,
Right. Heidi is helping Flor. You can go ahead.
She
don't
can
worry.
hear her now.
Bisman, I can
Or chat.
translate.
Perfect.
Yes,
And
perfect.
Dorothy, what's your question then?
in the chat, it says syllabus. Somebody put that over in the chat, syllabus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that the whole thing that you were supposed to mail out?
That's part of what we mailed out. So the syllabus is part of it. We also have, for the PowerPoints, a section for notes. Each PowerPoint slide we cover, so you can take notes at the same time. That's part of the notes packet.
Okay. Okay, I don't think I'm getting it yet, but maybe I will.
Yeah, I think registered.
no,
Yeah.
yo no entiendo la verdad.
Is
Bisma,
I think I have the syllabus though. I just have November and December. 2021 in-person activities. That's not all of it, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's all I have is that.
Okay.
that packet.
So we're going to send out a second notes packet in the middle of the semester with the second half of the PowerPoint information. But I will be sure to send you the first half in the next coming days.
Okay, all right. Okay, well,
Thank you for your patience while we navigate that. And so now we're just going to do a brief check-in question for everybody to get a sense of who's in the room. Is there a number that we can call to? Oh, let me get back to you with that number. But for everybody else, we're just gonna go around and we'll popcorn. So after you share, you can click on someone else. But our check-in question today, please introduce your name, your pronouns if you're comfortable sharing, and what do you hope to learn during this course? Angel, I see your hands up.
Can I be first?
Mm-hmm.
My name's Angel. I like to learn computers.
Angel, do you want to pick on who to call on next?
What's their names?
Can you see any of the names in the call?
It's with a D.
With a D, whose name?
DG?
Yeah, Rose.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Rose.
Okay, I'm Decha, and you wanted to know what I hope to learn in the course. I think a good place to start is terminology, what the words are and what they refer to. So I understand when people talk about it, or when I try to do it, or when I try to tell about it.
Thank you for sharing, Lichi. Would you
Oh.
like to call on someone else?
Yeah, I see someone named Esther Parker. Someone on the telephone, Parker.
Esther, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hello, this is Esther. Thank you. Well, I certainly like to learn as much as I can. I haven't used computers in a while, and it's amazing how things have changed. So each time I'm starting from scratch.
Mm. Thank you for
But it's slowly. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for being here and for creating the wheel of knowledge with us together.
Thank you.
Arya, would you like to share with us?
Okay, I'd like to learn about the different social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, what else? Instagram. I also want to know their differences and how can I be safe on the use of these platforms? That's it.
Thank you. Would you like to call on someone else?
Okay. Maria? Maria Shorda?
Other Maria.
Oh, I think it's Lupita.
Maria.
Oh, Lupita.
Doris.
Yeah, here I am.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, how are you?
Norma.
Yes, well, I just expect to learn as much as I can in order to do what I'm supposed to do with the social media, because I mean, I really don't know anything about anything. Even the internet gives me a hard time. So I have high expectations this time about the course, and I hope I can make it. By the moment, I'm stuck still.
Other Maria, would you like to?
Yeah, I'm gonna need a lot of help, and I know Bisma is gonna give it to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lupita.
Hello, Bisma. It's Dorma.
Hi,
I would
Dorma.
like to learn how to paste and cut into a document, so I would know, so I can give my address to someone.
Okay, that's a good skill to have.
Thank you.
And Maria, would you like to go? Sorry.
Yeah, hi. I'm Maria. I'm the organizer of Parent Voices. We do have social media accounts, but I'm self-taught, and a lot of things I have to learn by trial and error. So this is my shortcut to refining what I already know, and also to be able to teach the other parents in our group. Hi, Dharma.
Would you like to click, what's it called? Pass to someone else?
Okay, I'll call on Cora McCoy.
I'm Cora, and I am here to advance my knowledge in social media and basically how to communicate with others through posting of the various and Instagram, just I really need to know the foundation of it.
Thank you.
And I will call on, let's see who hasn't gone. Oh. What about Dorothy? I saw her face on here.
I knew
Dorothy.
Was that me? Did I hear you correctly?
Okay. Yeah, I'm laughing because Cora's hoping that I learn something about social media. That's why she called on me. But anyway, she knows that I have a mental block against this. I hate this. It's really time consuming, and I know I really need to use it, but it just takes up so much time. And so I'm taking this class, hopefully, so I can move some of these blocks out of my head, you know, because all of these 3 things that I need to learn, the computer, my phone, and iPad, and. So I'm hoping I feel better about this when I get through with this course. Oh, I'm gonna call on, let's see who. Did Joy go on yet?
Oh, not yet, but thank you for calling.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if I heard my name correctly. Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to thank BISMA and SDA for offering such a great opportunity to learn social media. I know for me, I want to catch up to the 21st century. And this is quite a tall order because I think I mentioned to BISMA before that even though I'm at university taking a break because of COVID, I feel like I'm at a 3rd grade level. You know, going from 1961 to 1921 in terms of my understanding of getting caught up to technology. Even with me, if I'm 10, probably the current day 10-year-olds know a lot more than I do, and they're pretty, you know, easily navigating through everything. My interest in this course, I'm hoping to not only connect with other seniors, which I think would be fun, but also to learn, like some other people have said before, that I want to learn the inner structure of each one and how they kind of combine as a kind of a constellation of resources and how they work together. Because I think this is a basic structure for, like, if anybody wanted to, for example, own their own business, you can't really do marketing without being on Facebook, for example, which I'm not on any social media because of the security issues. So yeah, so starting with terminology and the operational procedures and how they link or don't, and, you know, what's the best media for which social platform, like Instagram is for videos, and I don't know, where do blogs fit in, websites, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm pretty open. Okay, so I guess I need to pick, how about Rebecca?
Rebecca, you're currently muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yo la escucho perfectamente.
Ah, okay. Bueno.
Okay. Okay. Va.
Okay. You can hear me? Okay. So I said, I think this is a wonderful program. It's so nice to meet people and learn so much. So I was just saying that I remember back in the day when all these things and the internet was coming out, I was in high school learning to type because I'm disabled and that my hand was partially paralyzed, so I can type more easily, but the social media and everything wasn't all out yet. So that started happening more recently, and I'm just catching up to it now. So this is helping me learn all the more quickly the programs and stuff that weren't even out when I was in college. We weren't even focused on those things. So so this is great to learn some new things.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Flor, ¿te escuchas? Is she on the interpretation channel? Oh, perfect. Okay. Amazing.
Maya.
I'm sorry, I just want to read the chat from Anna. Anna says she's looking forward to learning how to use all the social media safely and efficiently. I don't know how to use the private settings, utilize different accounts and not mix them up and set up different groups. I will have to leave at 4 p.m. today, as I told you in our phone conversation.
So I can add 2 things. This morning, I needed to do 2 things, and yesterday that I couldn't do. One is I am joining a Facebook group or a study group. And when I joined this group, my birth date showed and it came up with my name, and I wanted to delete it. So that's not the first thing people see. The month, date, and year. So I wanted to delete it and I couldn't. I watched a couple of YouTubes, and it looks like I have to put an app. I download an app, which I deleted the app because I understand it's not great to have a Facebook app. But then I tried to do it on the computer and I couldn't. And the other thing is I have a WhatsApp group but then I had to form another WhatsApp group, and I couldn't. All their numbers are in my phone, but I didn't know how to create that group on my phone. So those 2 things happened within 2 days.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Anna, and I'll be sure to make space to cover it during our Facebook presentations as well.
Okay, thanks, and thank you. I'm glad. I look forward to taking this class, and I will be in touch and see you on Wednesday.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Joining us for this hour. And so we are running a little bit behind on time. So I'm going to ask if everybody can share what they would like to learn in the chat. And if that isn't accessible, then we'll spend a few moments to let you speak out loud if you can't access the chat right now before we move on.
Well, this is Henrietta. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how to use the chat, so I guess what I want to learn is reflective of what a lot of what already has been shared. I want to be at ease when I use social platforms and not be intimidated, and especially on Zoom. I never know how to join a chat. So that's some of the things I want to do. And also to use a social media platform for marketing.
Perfect. Yes. And so, Henrietta, are you currently on a laptop or a tablet?
Right now I'm on my phone because, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the phone is a bit clunky when it comes to accessing the chat. It's not until you swipe and click on the chat in like the 3 little dots that you're able to see it. But yeah, it's hard to use on a phone for sure. But we'll definitely go over all the different controls that will become relevant when you're on your Zoom during our class on Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
And in the chat, Pyra has said, every year I review what I forgot and learn what I didn't know. And Maureen Mitchell shared, Maureen here, I will have a photo next week. I will have my laptop.
Oh, hi, can you hear me? I'm still writing in the chat what I wanted to learn from the class, but I just want to say
Thank you, Maureen. Joy De La Luz shared, additionally, I would like to be as facile as the average 20-something college student. Daunting, LLL.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
This is Maureen. I
Yes.
guess I got disconnected. I just want to say that I'm really interested in, I belong to a couple like different activist groups on Instagram and stuff like that, but I'm reluctant to really participate in them because I just don't know how to do this safely because and I'm retired now, but in my job before I was retired, they always told us we have to be so careful about security issues and all this kind of stuff. And so that's my issue. I would really like to participate more, but I would like to learn how to do that safely.
Thank you, Maureen. Jose Torres put in the chat, hello, I am 70 years old and have used Facebook for 13 years or so. So I'm willing to share my experiences on it, but I need to better understand on how to use Twitter and Instagram more effectively. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, everybody, for your insights, and apologies to those who were unable to share in that time. But we're going to start with the presentation today. We're going to cover a few boxes that some of you already named in what you want to learn. So let's get started on our digital safety discussion. Can everyone see my screen? Can everyone see the slides?
Yes, it's a lovely slide.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so first, what is the internet? So the internet is a global network of billions of computers and other electronic devices. So you may know these as phones, as tablets, but it's allowing people to be connected across borders, lands, and censorship. You can access the internet by connecting to a computer, and this is known as going online. So when someone says a computer is online, that's another way of saying that they're connected to the internet. Those two things mean the same thing. And what we also don't talk about is that the way we're connected to the internet is actually through cables that run through cable towers and networks. So everything that has a virtual wireless appeal is connected to a wire in some way or another. What is the World Wide Web? The World Wide Web, www, which is at the start of every website URL, is also called web for search, is a collection of different websites that you can access through the internet. A website can be made up of texts, of images, of resources. You can have a website for a lot of different things, for services and products, a blog for information. Say you want to make a recipe and share it with people, you could do that on a website. So there's many different things that fall under the category of what's a website and what can go online.
Quick question, may I?
Mm-hmm.
On the website, when you say products, services, blogs, etc., when you say those different categories, I'm imagining different websites for different things. Like if you've got a kitchen, like I'm very big on food and recipes. So are you saying in general that for each interest that one has, one can create a website for each of those interests? Oh,
theoretically, or you could have a master website that has multiple tabs to each of the different services you offer. So you could have a tab for blogs, you could have a tab for your services, anything can, it's really just a digital canvas, if you want to think of it that way. Mm-hmm. Anything and everything can go online.
Okay, but and if you wanted to, like, say, set up a business and you wanted to offer, I don't know, products that you're selling, is it just a matter of personal preference if you want to keep those products that you're selling separate with a PayPal embedded in it versus these other fun ones that, like Facebook, you know, can link to where you don't necessarily have a PayPal account?
Yeah.
So there's different categories for that?
Definitely. And
Oh.
you can use social media to enhance people to find a website that you have, or you could have an entire business on social media as well. So the rules and regulations among the two differences are not that large. You can do most of the things on a website that you can on social media at this point.
What, say that again? You can say
You-
that again?
You can do most of everything on a website on social media nowadays. So you can shop on social media. You can set up a blog for recipes on social media. The issue and the difference is, if you are using a social media app to do that, you're confined to the users of that social media app. With a website, you don't need an account or anything for anyone to access that. All they need is a link.
Except that Facebook is free, unless you're doing a business account, but a website is paid, right? But there are these free website, like Wix and Weebly, they're free, but then there's a line where you can have it be free, but if you want to use it for a business endeavor, then that's where you have to pay the business fee. Or I guess, I don't know, it depends on what is it, the data usage and how much storage and all that. Then, so the free, just like in Zoom, they have free accounts, but it's only limited to 40 minutes. And it's kind of the similar idea. It's a question, right? With the websites, right? It's like, it's free to a certain extent and then you have to pay.
Yes.
And then last question about that is, then it's up to the person who's designing their life to coordinate or link whatever, like say, for example, if I did a LinkedIn page and then I wanted a separate website where I'm a consultant for a particular field, then those LinkedIn and my website would be linked. They would refer to each other. But if I wanted to sell mugs that say women power or whatever, right? That would be like a separate website that is just for fun, right? That it doesn't have to, I don't have to, unless I wanted to. I could leave that as a separate independent website on its own and not necessarily link it to my professional LinkedIn account. Okay, great. Oh, okay, I'm getting it. Thanks.
Dorothy, I see your hands raised.
She was, some of my questions were answered, with her talking. But the thing is, if you want to make an announcement, which one of the social medias is better to recruit or whatever?
So we'll definitely get into the differences of the different social media accounts, but the way that I see it is that each social media can be seen as a party, and you're trying to gain access to as many people in a party. And so each different social media app has a different set of demographics, of rules, of how to move people. And so it's your choice as a user to figure out which party you want to join.
Oh, okay.
But we'll go into like what qualifies what has a bigger reach on each different social media platform.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, well, who do we pay for the website? I know you pay to get somebody to set it up for you, design it for you.
So
but then once it's there, who do we pay?
So basically, the way that I don't know too much about websites myself, and I
Oh,
won't
okay.
spend too much time on it because we do have the digital safety presentation to get to today. But basically, websites have domains, so that is the place they live. So you have the internet and you have websites that live within the internet. A domain allows that website to stay as a point of data within the internet that people can keep accessing. So what you're paying for oftentimes is a monthly rate to let your data stay on the internet for other people to access.
Okay.
I would just like to interject that I have been an entrepreneur outside of my job for like about 20 years, and I have a plethora of experience with marketing and websites. So not to take up this time, if you want to email me separately, I'd be happy to answer questions and point you towards resources if that's what you're doing that will be most user-friendly.
Thank you for uplifting that, Regina. And I will like to offer myself as a resource as well in that inquiry for any other questions that might come up about websites too.
Regina, this is Dorma. I was asking earlier about WordPress because I had set up an account, but I really don't know how to fully use it. So perhaps I could talk back with you.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just tell you right now, I don't even, WordPress is like, not for me.
Okay. Alrighty.
But I'll tell you why. And there's other comparable websites that will be less time consuming and a lot easier to build.
Oh, really?
Regina, can you please put your email address in the chat?
Sure.
Thank you.
Most happy to
dedicate 30 minutes before a class to a small teach-in by Regina on how to use websites, if that would be useful. Not to offer your time, Regina.
Oh, no, I'd be happy to do it because it's super fun. And it's always changing, just like the internet is. And this whole thing about branding and what's going on, like we've moved from text-heavy sites to where things are more visual, which is a lot easier because that's a lot less input that you have to do, and you can manage your sites yourself instead of paying people, which keeps the cost down. So we can talk about all of that.
Yay, amazing. I also want to be looped into that conversation. I know how to use WordPress because we do use it for the SDA website. So I might be able to help you a little bit, Dharma, but I have similar qualms as Regina that WordPress is also known to actually be funding Israeli military forces. So that's part of the reason why I have been not so fond of using WordPress myself, for knowing that there's a surveillance link there. But that is, I keep diverging. We can pick this up at another time and we'll continue our conversation about digital safety today.
All right, thank you.
All right, so next we're going to talk about what a browser is. So once you are connected to the internet, how do you access the internet itself? You have to view and access websites through an application called a web browser. So web browsers are kind of like the powerhouse that lets you click on different links. So it's like the engine that keeps things going. It's the search engine, it's the browser. So the most common web browsers that people will recognize by ear is Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Safari, and e-internet, which is very outdated now. My personal recommendation, and I'll go into why, is that everyone should be using Mozilla Firefox to conduct their internet searches. This is for that Mozilla Firefox is the only one that is non-for-profit and doesn't feed information into private companies the same way that Google Chrome or Safari does. And I'll go into why this is important later in the presentation, but from a person that's done my research on internet safety and surveillance, Mozilla Firefox tends to be the one that advocates the most for consumer rights and safety. So what can you use the internet for?
Excuse me, Bisma, real quickly. Is that in the packet, what you've been going through now? Was that part? And I can't find it. Okay, well, I'll search for it later.
All right. It should be in the like the PowerPoint handouts. It might be a small little box with lines next to it. That's how you'll be able to see the information. I'll also send out the PowerPoint slides again at the end of the week so you can see it again that way. All right.
Thank you.
What can you use the internet for? So the internet is the oldest and most universal form is email, which all of you had to have in order to register for this course. But email is the oldest form of the internet that is available to us. which is why its reach remains really, really high. Social media connects and builds communities with other accounts online. So that's the difference between a website and a social media account, is that you need an account to engage on a social media platform. But for a website, you don't need to make an account. Anyone can click that link. Nowadays, internet can be used to shop, to pay bills, to manage your bank accounts, to watch TV, or to build new skills. So there's a plethora of different ways you can use the internet nowadays.
Excuse me, Bisma. The difference between the website and social media, did you say is that the social media? Okay, so I got the email it's your private friends list, like you know, your relatives, your extended family, you know, your husband's extended family. So that's your private, right? And that's kind of similar, I think, in a way to Facebook, because Facebook, you can invite your closest associates onto Facebook. And is it also correct that on Facebook, you can manage the settings so that you can have different distances and closenesses of relationships, right? So, okay, so that's that. But, and what were you saying about the web? That if you wanted to create a website, it's kind of like the world.
So I was just trying to make a distinction. So if we're doing this in my analogy, I'd say that email is actually already a form of social media.
Oh.
You're required to make an account to be able to access it in that analysis. But I'm saying that a website is different than a social media account. Social media accounts require you to make an account ahead of time to see other users in the platform. So for instance, if the only way I can see other people's tweets on Twitter is if I have a Twitter account myself.
Right.
But if that's not the same for a website, you don't need any sort of, you have an anonymity when you are clicking on a website, that no one can see who you are or when you're accessing it, which makes it a little different than social media.
But also, so social media is more like a reciprocity kind of engaged thing, but it's not only reciprocal, but the big brother has access to both partners' information simply because you have to register. Like I can't look at a Facebook account beyond the front welcoming page unless I give Google my information, right? So then that makes me think, okay, well, I just need to use a random Gmail account to just use it as a key to get into these places. And I'm not going to give it to anybody because I'm just using it as a key, right? I don't care if I get junk mail and whatever, that's a whole other thing. But then a website, are you saying, like, if I'm creating a website, people can, that becomes an SEO, you know, I have to think about branding and all that kind of stuff, which we won't discuss. But if I create a website, it's kind of opening my doors to everybody who's interested, but that means they would have to Google whatever they're interested in. And then that becomes an SEO issue. SEO, don't use acronyms. I just remember that. Search engine optimization, right? So that means that if a random student in my class looks up, say, I don't know, like flower pots with skulls on it. I'm thinking Dia de los Muertos, right? Skull flower pots, right? If they type it into the Google, then my website, if it's brand new, might not show up because it's not the most popular, right? So it is open, and anybody in my class or any random person in Florida can look, and they might scroll down to the 105th one and they might stumble onto my website. But unless they email me or unless they touch base with me from the info that I give on that website, I can't reciprocate with them. So even though, okay, so it's mostly one way, right? Because you're setting up your lemonade stand and you're just waiting for people to come by, and I'm using an analogy in my element, I'm in kindergarten. So if I set up a lemonade stand, I just have to wait for any random person to come to my stand and pay 25 cents for this little 8-ounce cup that I made by myself as an 6-year-old. So that's the only thing. I can't respond unless they email me on my website, info@skullflowerpots.com. Right. So, but whereas like Facebook and the other ones, I could initiate a conversation because I have their info. Okay, I'm getting it.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions and your inquiry. It makes the class that more engaging. But yeah, so now we're going to move on to digital safety, the meat of this presentation. Now that the internet is becoming so crucial to our lives, in our relationships, work, and activisms, it's really important that we match our online activity with digital safety practices. And so next, we're going to run through how to protect your internet browsing. So making sure that when you're online, you're not leaving bits of information for other hackers to find. And we're going to talk about why it's important to use safe passwords and how to identify hackers and their tactics so that you're prepared when you encounter a hacker attack to know what to do. So before we begin, I need to get some terms out of the way. So before we begin, it's really, really important to make sure that your internet activity is encrypted. Encrypted is the mathematical process that basically obscures data by scrambling that information. And so that's the reason why I suggested Firefox, is because they actually make sure that your internet is encrypted. The same cannot be said for other web browsers, but I will also be giving you tools and skills on how to make sure that you add extra layers of protection to your internet searching so that it is encrypted. And the reason why encryption is so important is because you don't want information like your credit card, your bank information, personal messages you're sending to people living online after you've exited a site. You want to make sure that that is scrambled information so that if someone is trying to track your digital, footprint, that they're not able to find anything. That's why encryption is important. So if left unchecked, your company, your cookies will feed personal data to private companies. So this is why encryption is important. Cookies are small pieces of data that are stored on your computer by websites to track your preferences. So sometimes when you open a new website, you might get a notification that says, accept all cookies. You should immediately click no. That is making sure that your footprint online remains as small as possible and that you're not sending information about yourself to private data companies. Another piece of information to know is public Wi-Fi is very, very insecure. You need to assume that when you are on private Wi-Fi, that someone is watching your screen the way that you're seeing it. Anyone can using that network, if they're on a public Wi-Fi, can watch your web traffic, even if it is password protected. That's why it's really important when you are using public internet or public Wi-Fi, you never look up bank accounts, you never put credit card information, because you need to assume that someone else can see it and copy that information.
So Bisma, on the cookies request, like sometimes I'll do research and that thing will pop up. Like even if I want to look at a particular piece of news, right? Like the 14th stimulus check or the 4th stimulus check or whatever, it'll have that request on there. So, but if I say no, it won't let me move forward. So is there a way to get around that?
So yeah, I will show you a way to get around that.
Okay.
That's coming in the next slides.
Great.
So to get around the cookie problem and also to ensure extra layers of protection, it's important to download browser extensions. So basically, a browser extension is a no-cost software that you can add to your browser to make sure that it is safe. So when you're using websites, it is making sure that your information is not being leached off other companies while you're online. And so these are two that I have identified as good browsers for everyone to download on their devices. One tip too is that you need to make sure that you are using HTTPS sites when you can, which is when you actually look at a URL on a website, the first letters are always HTTP. Always, for every website that you have. An S stands for safety, meaning your information will not be stolen on that website. So it's important to prioritize your activity on HTTPS sites. Anytime you're encountering a website that doesn't have that S, assume that other people can see your activity.
Also, is it true, Bisma, also on the HTTPS site, there's also a little lock on there too, an icon of a lock?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not on all of them. It depends on the type of browser you have, but yeah, typically there's also a lock.
Okay, thank you.
And so
Is that automatically on your bank accounts? HTTPS?
It should be.
Oh.
Should be. Okay.
Most banks do. Most information that is that way will do that. But I will also show you other techniques to make sure that is the case.
Okay, all right.
So the two browser extensions I recommend everyone to download, and I'll tell you how to download them too, is Privacy Badger, which is a browser that stops advertisers and third-party trackers from secretly tracking pages that you're on. So even if you have to accept cookies, this will make sure that your information is deleted off that site.
What was it called again? Privacy
Badger.
Badger, BADGER.
The second one is disconnect.me. This identifies trackers, cookies, and websites that are tracking your internet activity, and it takes the extra step of blocking them. So I recommend using both of these because they're two checks to make sure that your internet activity is not being tracked. And this can go to any browser. So it can be Mozilla, it can be Google Chrome. This is for your personal device to make sure that the internet activity is not tracked.
Can I? I have two questions. Would you be able to drop those into the chat? And could I use them on Safari?
Yes and yes. Or yes and no, sorry. It's not on Safari. I actually would recommend not using Safari just because it is the most unsafe in comparison to the others. Even though Apple presents itself as a very secure network, it's very unclear what they do with private data in terms of selling it. And so I would highly recommend that if you can't use Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome is the next one over, but do not use Safari.
Okay.
Okay, and Bisma, what if you fall prey to a lot of those where you just got all these cookies and you've done all the wrong things? So how do you clean that up?
I will show you how to clean that up, but the first step is to download these extensions because they will stop that activity from happening the minute that they enter the software.
Is there a danger of maxing out your RAM space or whatever you call it? Like if I wanted to download the Privacy Badger and the disconnect.me, is it going to?
It doesn't take up storage. It lives
it doesn't?
on the web browser. No.
Oh, okay. It'll be easy then, right? You just click and that circle goes around and it's complete and you're done, right? There's nothing more that you have to do besides just downloading it. It just activates.
Yeah. So these are the instructions on how to actually download a browser extension. So you will just open an internet browser, Firefox, Google Chrome are the ones I recommend. Then in the search engine, you will type in Privacy Badger or Disconnect Me. I also put the direct links in the PowerPoints here. So you could just click on where it says Firefox or Google Chrome, and it'll take you immediately to the page to download. And I will send this PowerPoint at the end of the week as well, so you'll be able to access it there. So after searching, you're going to click the button that says download for the browser extension you're on. And then afterwards, you'll have to enable the pop-up setting that will allow the browser extension to run. So that's the fourth step. You'll see it'll show a little lock icon to show that you've downloaded it. and then you have to press add in order for it to start working.
Do you press add after you enable the pop-up setting to allow the download? Am I saying it right?
Yes.
So there's another thing that shows up and you click on it's called pop-up setting. That's what we're looking for.
Yes, it'll automatically come up the minute that you press add and you allow it to download. It'll ask you to add.
Oh, wait, sorry. I have enabled the pop-up setting to allow the download. And then where does add come in?
When it says, can this extension have permission to access your data? That's when you press add.
Okay.
And it just is like checking to make sure that all your data is fine and being encrypted.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So these are the instructions, so you can go back and reference them. You can also, if this doesn't make sense, we can sit down and together.
A question, Linda. If you've been using Google and you want to clean up, you can go and add the same information, add an extension, and it'll clean up all your cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Is cookies part of your history?
Cookies are your history. Yeah, it's like little pieces of information that have been stuck in a website that you're trying to get rid of.
Will it
Make
disturb?
it sound like a dessert. Like you want to have them.
No, these are not cookies you want to eat.
When you, Bisma, when you say in the search engine, search for Privacy Badger or disconnect.me, are you talking about, I use Google search all the time. Is that what you mean? Go on to Google and then type it in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what I was asking about Google. You
Yeah.
use Google all the time.
And I
Google
put
it.
direct links here too. So if you want to click on it, you can do it directly on this PowerPoint too. All right, so that is how to download a browser extension. We can set that up together. Right now, we're just gonna take a quick 5-minute break, but I do need you back so that we can talk about passwords after. So Privacy Badger is not an app, just to answer that question. It is a browser extension, so it only works on a browser. So Mozilla Firefox, you can add it for your phone if you have that app, but it only works on that app.
I've seen that before, Privacy Badger. I never knew what it was.
So does that mean, Bisma, that in order to download the browser, the 2 browser extensions, you have to be on the particular browser? So if you want to make sure that you're using Firefox, right, before you download the 2 browser extensions, or if you want to use Google Chrome, you want to make sure that that browser is open, and then you activate the 2 browser extensions, right? Am I getting that right?
Yes.
In other words, you have to do it as you want it to apply to the browser you're using. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for your questions. And I can see the passion in your voices and your eyes for this content. So we will be taking a break until 4:40, which is discussing safe passwords. So passwords are the first line of defense against hacking attacks. That's why it's really, really important for us to pick passwords that are strategic and going to be safe for all of us. But the problem with nowadays with 21st century accounts is that there's so many places that ask you for accounts now that it's virtually impossible to remember all of those passwords. So we're going to talk about different ways and apps that you can use to actually make that process easier for yourself. Some general rules to follow is to actually use a passphrase instead of a password. So instead of a word like watermelon, you could use a phrase for a password like, I hate dogs. That's a phrase. I don't actually hate dogs, but that's the difference between a password and a passphrase. Changing some of those for numbers or an exclamation point at the end would also enhance your security. Do not use Google spreadsheets, Apple keychains, or the automated Chrome password remember, because they are not secure. There is very little regulation on where that information actually goes. And many times they're sold to private companies in hacks and breaches to sell your data to other folks. So do not use those automated password saving apps that are built into your phone, because private companies are exploiting them right now as we speak.
Bisma, I have a quick question about that. With the password keychains that we're not supposed to use, those are the ones that say, oh, here's a secure one if you want to use it.
Yeah, those
right?
are the ones.
Okay, so if you're using it and you put your own instead of that, is it still?
Yes, it's the idea that it's saving it within Google, and Google itself is not safe as an entity to save passwords. But I will share another alternative to this problem. All right, and the third, and it's bolded because it's that important, do not reuse passwords across multiple sites. It's really easy that once you think of one good password to think you can use it at other places, but that is how people get hacked. Because the minute that one person figures out your line of defense, the first thing they're going to do is try all your other accounts and try to gain access to all the other places that password works. So you need to get one step ahead by making sure you use different passwords for different accounts. So all of these dry, sad realities, but there's good news. There are now password managers that will help you so you don't have to remember all your passwords. All you have to do is just remember one master password, and it will take care of the rest for you. My personal recommendation is a password managing browser extension called Lastpass. Lastpass is non-for-profit. It's a small company right now, and it is doing its very best at making sure to not sell data out to large companies, and is what I use, and is actually what I'm trying to get SDA to use as well. So how to
Thank you so much.
Yes. So Lastpass is a place to store all your passwords when you click through different websites. So the first thing you'll do is just type into a web browser, lastpass.com. You'll set up and create a personal account, and please remember to jot down your master password somewhere. That is the only password you'll ever need to remember once you have Lastpass. So all you do for an account is need an email and a master password. This is what the Lastpass security vault looks like. This is a screenshot that I took of my account. On the sidebar on the left, you have your passwords, you have secure notes. That's typically where I write things like medical records or things that I need to remember. Addresses that are important, payments and bank accounts you can also add to this. Security dashboard actually tells you the health of your accounts. So if you should change a password, there's a sharing center, which is really, really convenient, because if you need to share a password to someone else, you should never share over text. You should never share over email, because those messages are not encrypted. So if anybody in the transition of you sending a text or sending an email decides to look at your activity, they can read the entire text verbatim. So the sharing center allows you to share passwords in a secure way. And there's other settings like account settings and options that you can run through as well. But basically, all you have to do is, as you have this browser extension LastPass on your account, as you're using your different websites and logging into different accounts, it'll automatically ask if you want to input it into LastPass's database.
Isma, So this idea of sharing a password with someone that you trust, like say, for example, you know, I'm 70, so I'm having to plan for the future when my health becomes worse, right? So when I fill out my end of life papers, for example, and I want to, this is an application of what you're teaching, and I want to share my password with somebody who is going to care for me, like a power of attorney. Is that the application of, is that a practical application of what LastPass would do? They would provide, so say if you were my caretaker, I would say, Bisma, this is, you know, I would give you a folder with all my secret passwords, and then you would look it up on the sheet, and then you would log into LastPass, and then you would type in the password that I've given you access to, and then you would have access to all those documents that you kind of showed us in your personal account, right?
Yes.
So does that mean also that if you want to change your master, I'm thinking of master key, you know, like a skeleton key that opens many doors, right? If you have that, the passphrase is what I liked that you said, you know, where you have a phrase and you switch out dogs for cats or raccoons or whatever, right? Does, like, if you have different accounts that have different passwords, right? And you put in, you open up the LastPass, if you, like, when you put in a master passphrase, does that have access to all your other accounts with all the different passcodes that you put in, or how does that work?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I like your key analogy because the master lock basically gives you access to all of your accounts at once. So the idea is that it's a chain where it has all the links to all of your different accounts, but you don't actually have to remember what those passwords are because they save it in the security dashboard here. So you don't have to remember all 70 account passwords anymore. All you need to know is your master key.
So when you go into LastPass, does it ask you what are the Gmail accounts and the website or whatever, like Amazon or whatever it is that you have? Does it ask you to list all of them? That's the tricky part, right? You have to remember all.
So I'll show you how to do this, but typically once you make an account, you can go in and add passwords yourself, or as you go through and use your websites and stuff, it'll automatically ask you, add this to LastPass, add this to LastPass. So you don't have to remember to do that yourself. So you can start somewhere, and you can just start by downloading it and then get in answering those prompts when needed.
Cool. Thank you so much. Goodness gracious.
So this is the security dashboard that I was telling you about. It tells you which passwords are at risk and which should be changed. So it tells you a number, and it tells you, and it's really important to check your security score and make sure it's above 80%. So this is literally a screenshot I took of my account before I changed my passwords. So the thing is, LastPass only holds data. So it holds your passwords for you. It holds that information, but it can't change the passwords themselves. You have to physically go in and change the passwords in the accounts and update it in LastPass. But the thing that LastPass does do is it does generate secure passwords for you to use and fill into your accounts. So you don't even have to think about what those passwords or passphrases are anymore. LastPass will do it for you.
So Bisma, now is this this is an app?
This is an app.
Okay, so there's no cost attached to it.
No cost. So I will get into that a little. So for one account, for one device, there's no cost. You can use LastPass, log in, do all of that. However, if you're trying to get devices to talk to one another, so for instance, for me, I use LastPass on my computer, but I also use it on my phone. I do have to pay a monthly rate to put a second device on, but you could just use one device and be fine with LastPass. And I believe it's $15 per year to add more devices.
Okay, so does that mean that if you wanted to just use the LastPass as opposed to FastPass, if you wanted to use a LastPass account for only one device, that means that it would only apply to that one device unless you pay $15 a year to link up all your other devices. So like, for example, I'm using an iPhone right now. And then and then technically if I wanted to use a computer, I would have to pay $15 a year to use that. Otherwise, if I just want to do like secure activities, I would just make sure that I use the Apple phone, right? Okay, so it's device specific.
It's device
which, okay, great.
Yes, and so now I'm just gonna go through how to actually add a password to Lastpass. So once you download Lastpass as a app and web browser, this little icon will appear with 3 dots in the middle of a red square. When you click on it, you're able to have a drop-down option of different sorts of activities. So you can open your vault, which is to view all your passwords. You can look at your recently viewed passwords, all items, and then the add item button. So when you click on the add item button, it's going to pop up this little square on the right that says add password. It's going to ask what the URL is. So the website you're trying to enter, it's going to ask for the location. Where do you want this password to be prompted? Then you're going to write the name, anything to describe what it is, a Gmail account, a Facebook, an Amazon. You can put your username, your password for the site, and then notes, anything that you want. And then you have to press the save button. Then this automatically gets saved into your Lastpass vault. Are there any questions up until this point?
A question, Bisma. I tried to download Firefox to my phone, and then I used my password on that account, and I used my email. I should say email instead of the camera. Now it asks for a password. Should this password be specific for Firefox alone?
Yes.
So it should be different from my email password.
Yes.
Oh.
But again, if you download Lastpass, you don't have to remember what those passwords are.
Okay.
You can just save it in Lastpass. And if you're using it on a device that you have Lastpass, it'll actually show a little icon on the side to fill the password as well, so that you don't have to go to the app to find what the password is, put it in. It automatically asks you if it remembers the account, where to put it in.
Okay. Thank you.
And then Dorothy, Angel, and Dichi, I see your hands up, so we'll go in that order.
Okay, just what is URL again? I forgot.
A URL?
Yeah, URL is what?
It's the www link. So
oh, the same thing? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, all right.
Well, Bisma, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna let Angel and Dichi go, and then you can go.
I get it on my computer tomorrow, or?
Yeah, so I will coordinate with you. I'll call you after class and we can discuss the details on getting your laptop.
Okay.
And Dichi?
Yes, how do you, am I muted?
No, I can hear you.
How do I download Lastpass?
So if you go to Google, all you have to put is lastpass.com.
Oh.
And then it'll take you exactly to the site.
Okay.
And Dharma?
I never know where to paste the URL.
Paste the URL?
Yes.
So I'll take you back to this, but when you add a password, it says URL, which is the same thing as www dot.
Right.
So I'm going to exit this, but basically say that I wanted the URL for this presentation. So because it's Google Docs, it's slightly different in location, but I would press this share button right here in the top right corner. And then it says anyone on the internet can view, on this link can view. And all I have to do is press copy the link, and then it tells me that the link is copied. Now, when I go to paste it anywhere, all I have to do is press control paste, and it finds it. And all I have to do is press return. And there it is. So for things that aren't Google Drive related, so if it's not a document or a file or a PowerPoint like this, say that I found this website and I really wanted to share it with you. I would go to the top where it says HTTPS. I would copy this, control, copy it. And now I can go and paste that anywhere. I can paste it in an email. I can paste it on a text. I can open a new tab and also paste it right here. And I'll be able to access the same article. Does that make sense, Emma?
Okay, I'll have to feel about 60 more times till I'll have it.
And then you'll have it. And you need to, what's it called? Practice, and let us know how it goes.
Okay,
I'm sorry
thank
for
you.
keeping everybody over. There are a few tasks that I want you to try before our next class, if possible. And so I will put that up on the board for us. So I want you to practice a few skills that we talked about today. So first, I want you to check how secure your passwords are that you're using. And so there's actually a website that tells you how secure your passwords are. So think of your most secure password and put it in this website to see how easy it would be for a modern day computer to hack you.
What's the name of the website?
I am putting it in the chat right now. It's called howsecureismypassword.net. And I also linked a DIY, do-it-yourself feminist cybersecurity manual. So in case you have a little bit more time, I would look at this guide because it has even more browser extensions past the two that I was talking about that can be very useful for internet searching. So if you have time to look over the browser extensions that are in that cybersecurity guide. And if you don't have it right now, I want you to start downloading Lastpass on your computer and begin inputting passwords. And if you need any sort of help or assistance in this process, feel free to email me, call me, and we can get that set up.
Okay, so Bisma, what if you don't know how, like I said, access to the chat? You don't know how to do all that. So where can I get this information?
I will send it out at the end of the week with the tasks for the day, as well as the different guides. So you'll just have to wait a little bit. I'll be sure to send it all in an email so you won't get left out if you didn't have access to the chat today.
Okay, thank you.
So, Bisma, once you type in how secure is your password, then you put in your password.
Yeah, you don't obviously put the username, but you just think of your most secure password and type it in, and it'll tell you how secure it is.